In this video, we look into the heartbreaking case that shook Ireland, the tragic murder of Aisling Murphy. This is the story of a life taken too soon and a community forever changed. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more real-life crime cases, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It's always interesting to see how far these stories travel. Now, let's get into the case. A little town in Ireland called Tullamore is in the county of Offaly. In 2022, 23-year-old Aisling Murphy lived there. She was smart, driven, and hardworking, and her dream job since she was a child had been to be a teacher. She was thrilled when she got the job as a primary school teacher at Durrow National School just a few months after finishing. The people she worked with said it felt like she had always been there and was part of the team. Her dad said she did everything she could to make sure she was getting the most out of every day and to try to get better. She pushed her students to do their best, but she would never ask someone to do something she wouldn't do herself. She even bought a set of Uilleann pipes, which are one of the hardest instruments to learn. But she was set on showing herself that she could do it if she did it. She loved music and the arts in general, and she always had. Her singing mother, Kathleen, had taught her well, and she was in the choir, the orchestra, the camogie team, and the traditional music group in school. She had been playing the fiddle since she was a child, and is now one of the best fiddle players in the country. She has also played at the Tullamore Tradfest gathering of traditional music. Aisling was very close to her family. She always made time for dinner and drinks with her dad, Ray, her mom, Kathleen, her sister, Amy, and her brother, Cathal. She was also very happy with her partner, Ryan. They met at a disco when they were 15 years old and fell in love. After dating for a few years, they broke up because they were too young to handle it. They kept in touch though, and after another couple of years, they were back together and couldn't be apart. They began to make plans to get married, build their dream home together, and start a family. Ryan told me that she could always lift you up with her smile and laugh, no matter how bad you were feeling. Aisling dropped off some groceries at Ryan's family's house on January 10, 2022. They were all staying away from each other because there was COVID in the house, and Ryan told her he really wanted to give her a hug. They said hello and goodbye at the door, knowing they would see each other again in 10 days to go on a trip together. 2 days later, Aisling finished teaching as usual and got ready to go for a jog. She worked out whenever she had time, and it was normal for her to go for a quick run by the canal to clear her mind. Her mom asked where she was going before she left, but Kathleen told her to go jogging somewhere else because she was scared. "Ah, Mom, I'm 23 years old, love you," she said as she hugged her mom and left the room. She quickly got outside and started running along the Grand Canal. This is a peaceful spot where lots of people work out and walk their dogs. At 3:15 p.m., 2 women were running along Fiona's Way, a path named after a missing woman named Aine Pender. They saw and heard something strange. They saw a bike on the side and then heard what sounded like a woman crying from the woods next to the path. They thought the woman had hurt herself when she fell off her bike, so they went to help her. They saw a guy hunched over her and holding her down. The woman was wearing a small necklace with the name Aisling on it. When the man heard them, he turned around and snarled and clenched his teeth to tell them to leave. A runner said the woman was trying to get away by twisting and turning and moving every part of her body, but she stopped making noise. Both women yelled at him that they were going to call the Gardaí because neither of them had a phone with them and no one else was around. They then ran to the nearest house to get help. As soon as the police got there, they saw Aisling Murphy lying there still. Her attacker had already left. Even though the rescuers tried their best, Aisling died at the scene. She had been stabbed 11 times in the neck and strangled, and she had lost too much blood to survive. It was clear that Aisling had tried to fight off her killer with her keys, which were close by. Experts said it was clear that Aisling had fought so hard to get away and done everything she could until the end.
12th January 2022, shortly after 4 p.m, Gardaí from Tullamore Garda Station attended to an incident at the Grand Canal Way at Cappencur in Tullamore, following a call from a member of the public. At the scene, Gardaí discovered a young woman with serious injuries. Medical attention was provided, but despite the best efforts of the medical team who attended, this young lady passed away. This area here, where the crime occurred, is popular among Tullamore residents and is widely used for recreational purposes. The victim of this crime is Aisling Murphy, a 23-year-old local lady from the Blue Ball area of Tullamore. Our thoughts and prayers are with Aisling's family at this time, and indeed the wider community, her teaching colleagues, and the children she taught were without their teacher today. Immediately following the discovery of this crime, a full-scale murder investigation was launched. Personnel from the National Specialist Units, including the National Bureau of Criminal Investigation, have been assigned to the investigation. No stone will be left unturned in bringing this perpetrator of this crime to justice. At this stage, there is no information that the victim and her killer were known to each other. From inquiries we've carried out, we believe this crime was committed by one male who acted alone. We're appealing for witnesses who may have seen any person who is behaving unusual in that area. Any information you have, however insignificant you think it may be, we need to hear from you.
The jogger did their best to describe the man. His jacket stood out. It was a blue padded bomber jacket with special stitching on the back. It is thought that the mountain bike that was found nearby was his. It was a Falcon Storm with straight handlebars and green paint on the frame.
Gardaí have issued a very specific appeal for information relating to a mountain bike. What can you tell us?
Yeah, the Garda Commissioner held a press conference here in the last half hour. Now, we understand they have seized that bike, but it's crucial to the investigation, they say, and they want to know about the movements of that bike, not just yesterday, but in the preceding few days. They also want to know if anybody owned it or if it had been stolen and where it has been over the last couple of days.
A lot of people who were in the area at the time called the police, but they didn't find anything solid. By looking at her Fitbit data, they were able to get a better idea of when things happened. Her workout had begun at 2:51 p.m. It tracked shaky moves for 30 minutes, and at 3:31 p.m., just a couple of minutes later, it stopped tracking her heartbeat. In a statement, the Gardaí said they thought they were only looking for one person and were sure that this person was completely random and did not know Aisling. Their guess was that he would have cuts, bruises, or wounds from how Aisling fought back and used her keys.
The person who attacked Aisling here was disturbed by two women, who were then able to give a description to the Gardaí. It fitted a man who was already well known in the area for violent criminal acts. A 40-year-old man was subsequently arrested and is still being questioned this evening.
The descriptions gave the police a lead. A 40-year-old man was arrested just a few hours after Aisling was found, but he was soon let go without being charged. When his name and pictures were shared on social media, he got death threats, even though he wasn't guilty. He was taken to a safe place to stay.
More than 24 hours after the brutal murder of a young woman out jogging along the banks of the Grand Canal, widely used for recreation, Tullamore and the wider area is this evening numb with shock and grief.
Throughout the day in Tullamore, there's been just one topic of conversation. In the close-knit tapestry of communities in and around Tullamore, people have been remembering Aisling Murphy. The sense of shock is particularly acute for young women in the area, many of them regular users of the waterside amenities here.
It just makes young people like us think you're not really safe anywhere.
I have two little girls and we bring them walking along that canal, but I second guess it now. It's shocking to say she was out for a daily jog and just life gone from her now.
As locals gather the Murphy family into their collective embrace tonight, treasured memories of a valued member of the community abound.
Say the town is numb and everyone around here, it's hard to believe it.
Nervous and frightened and shocked, all into one. Nervous, frightened and shocked.
I know that people are feeling shocked, but also angry, and I share that anger. This is a woman's worst nightmare, and I say that because while no woman should have to take measures when they're going out and about to stay safe, Aisling was out during the day. It was bright. There was a lot of people about, and she was in an area that local people felt was always safe, and yet this has happened to her. It is every woman's worst nightmare. It is every family's worst nightmare. And so everything will be done to ensure that the Gardaí have the support that they need to bring about justice, and that whoever is responsible for this will face the full rigours of the law.
Detectives are still trying to establish a motive for the murder. They're examining all possible lines of inquiry, if it was robbery, if there was a sexual motive, and they say they're keeping an open mind.
Everyone in Ireland and around the world talked about Aisling's case, tried to help, and reported on it. It was soon on every news station and all over social media. People are quick to share their thoughts online after crimes like these that get a lot of attention from the media. Sadly, in this case, many people seemed to be most interested in the fact that she was out for a run in a somewhat isolated area. Laura Bates, an activist, wrote an emotional reaction to this and said that focusing on this is a complicated way of blaming the victim. People who post that she was going for a run are correct. I understand why she was just walking home. And she did everything right. After Sarah Everard died, it became popular. In one of her posts, she wrote, "I know it comes from a place of grief and anger, but it doesn't matter what they were doing. People say, she was just doing that or that." This makes it sound like the case wouldn't have been as bad or sad if she had been doing something else. Since Aisling's death 48 hours ago, there were vigils all over the place, including ones led by well-known politicians across the country. Tens of thousands of people showed up to remember her. The principal of the school where she taught said that everyone was so shocked by what had happened. It's hard to believe that she was teaching her first-grade children yesterday, and that they came in today with tears in their eyes because their teacher wasn't there. On January 14th, 100 people called for Aisling outside of Dublin's Irish Parliament. By 4 p.m., that number had grown to 1,000, and soon the Taoiseach Saoirse, Micheál Martin, who was Prime Minister of the Republic of Ireland at the time, and Leo Varadkar, who would become leader, would be there too. Leo Varadkar said that the killing of Aisling had brought the country together in disgust and unity. Police were not saying much about the case because they wanted to keep their cards close to their chest. On January 17th, they said that a lot of progress had been made because, even though they didn't tell anyone, they had gotten a disturbing email that said, "To whom it may concern, I am the person responsible for Aisling's murder. I am so sorry." Detectives quickly figured out who the email came from. They found the person whose account it had been. The email was sent at 10:44 p.m. The person who sent it said he had mental health issues and drank too much, losing consciousness and not remembering much of what he did when he was drunk. When he was clean, he said he didn't know why he sent it and had nothing to do with Aisling's death. At first, the police were very sure that this guy was the suspect, but after more checks, they were back to square one. But then, they got another tip that gave them the big break they were desperately looking for. They had been closely watching a man who walked into a hospital quite a distance from where Aisling was killed just 2 days after the murder. The man, who was 31 years old, came in to get some bad cuts, bruises, and scratches fixed on his face. Nurses at the hospital called the Gardaí to see if there was a link between what had happened to Aisling and what had happened in other places. The man was lying about his injuries and wouldn't say what happened, but he was in pretty bad shape when police arrived. They were also suspicious of him and looked into his background. After that, they went to search and take 2 cars and 2 homes, one of which was over an hour away in Dublin, and the other of which was only 8 minutes from where Aisling had been killed. In the hospital, they talked to the 31-year-old man, and he said he had been attacked by a man wearing a blue face mask. It was hard to tell who the man was because most people were wearing masks because of the pandemic. He said he didn't remember anything because it happened so fast, but the police didn't believe him and showed him a picture of Aisling. He said he had never seen her before, not even on TV. "I look at the news but don't speak English, can't understand it," he stated. But they didn't tell him anything else because they knew there was more to the story. They told him they would come back and talk to him later. Soon after, he talked to the police again. This time, he told them that the person who had attacked him had also attacked Aisling because they were both on the same road. He said he had tried to protect Aisling and not hurt her, but then he changed his story again. All of a sudden, he said, "I did it. I killed her. I am the killer." Right away, someone warned him and told him he didn't need to say anything else, but he wouldn't stop. He stated, "I'm sorry. I saw a girl I never saw before. The knife I used for the chain when she passed, I cut her. I cut her neck. She panicked. I panicked." After that, he broke down in tears and asked, "Will I go for 10 years?" He pointed to his stomach, which had 3 holes in it, most likely from Aisling's keys. He gave a sample of his DNA, and sure enough, the DNA from under Aisling's nails matched his. On January 18th, hundreds of people came to Aisling's funeral while police continued to put the pieces together.
"Do not be afraid, I am with you. She was the light of their lives, and the murder of 23-year-old Aisling Murphy has stunned Ireland. The President and his wife comforted her parents, brother, sister and boyfriend as they arrived for her funeral.
At that time, Michiel Martin was Tawi Sayak. President Michael D. Higgins and his wife Sabina were there, as well as Helen McEntee, who was Minister for Justice. At 11 a.m., schools across the country held a minute of quiet to remember her. Her young students would also honor the 23-year-old by holding pictures of Aisling as the funeral procession went by. Ryan was so happy that he broke down and spoke for his and Aisling's families. He said, "She is the greatest love of my life. I will always remember how much I loved the last 5 years we spent together. I hope that one day, God willing, we can get back together and carry out the wonderful plans we have for each other. Say goodbye for now, but not for good, sweetheart. You will always be in our hearts and thoughts." It had already been a very sad day, but things were about to get even worse. The Gardaí revealed that the man they had been closely watching in the hospital had been arrested and charged with killing Aisling.
We start this hour with that breaking news. The arrest made on suspicion of murder, a man in his 30s. This is regarding the murder of Aisling Murphy, the school teacher who was murdered last week in County Offaly. We can speak to our correspondent David Blevins now. And David, this arrest took place shortly after Aisling's funeral today.
Yes, police are providing very little detail at this stage for operational reasons, other than to confirm that detectives investigating the murder of the 23-year-old primary school teacher last Wednesday have arrested a man in his 30s. He's currently being detained at Tullamore Garda station under Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Act 1984, and that questioning could go on for some time. The An Garda Síochána, the Irish Police Service, are adamant that they will not be making any further comment at this stage, but it is nonetheless a significant development, and as you say, it comes just a matter of hours after the small village of Mount Bolus in County Offaly came to a complete standstill for the funeral of Aisling Murphy. There can be no question whatsoever about the esteem in which she was held. Literally hundreds upon hundreds of people turned out. Also there, the Prime Minister and Taoiseach Micheál Martin, and that's because really the murder of this young woman has had an enormous impact both at home and abroad. People are not just saddened by it, they are very angry about the fact that after all this time women are still being subjected to violence, and there have been all sorts of vigils and calls for a change in attitude, for this to be the watershed moment. And I think that's the important thing to remember today. While the murder investigation continues behind the scenes, and while there has been this arrest, this is a day when Aisling's family and friends want to remember a very beautiful young woman who was so cruelly snatched away in unthinkable circumstances.
They finally found out his name was Jozef Puska. He was a builder and had moved to Ireland from Slovakia in 2015. He lived in Tullamore with his wife and 5 kids. In the evening, he went to Tullamore District Court, and the outside was full of people and reporters. More shocking information was given to the Gardaí about what Jozef did in the hours before he killed Aisling. Anne-Marie Kelly saw Jozef for the first time when he was riding his bike. She moved out of the way to let him go, and he went by very slowly while looking at her in a scary way that made her feel very uneasy. Anne-Marie then saw Jozef at the canal again. This time he was pushing his bike behind her as they walked. She sped up because she could tell he was staring at her. Luckily, she saw a man in a van pull up, so she ran over to him. Jozef took off right away. A few times cameras got him following 3 other women that day. He was going to find Aisling after this. The police think he was determined to hurt or kill someone. They also said he was a phantom person who they had never seen before. Even though he admitted what he did, he pleaded not guilty and said he couldn't remember what he said in the hospital. Now he was back to the story where he said he was trying to keep Aisling alive from another man. The probe went on while he was in jail. On June 13th, 2023.
5 people appeared in court earlier today charged in connection with the investigation into the murder of Aisling Murphy in January of last year. All 5 were arrested in Dublin yesterday and they appeared before Tullamore District Court.
5 of the people were caught and charged with hiding information or making it harder to catch someone related to Aisling's case. Marek Puska, Lubomir Puska, and Lucia Istakova were charged with hiding information. Josefina Grenchikova and Vera Gaziova were charged with making it harder to catch or prosecute a suspected criminal. He had admitted to the crime before his trial began on October 17, 2023. The government also had DNA, CCTV, and witness statements. His defense team was still following the story that he had been attacked by a man, which was why he was hurt, and that the man had killed Aisling before running away. The 2 women running said they saw Joseph trying to stop the bleeding, not the other way around.
Former NHS emergency and intensive care consultant Dr. Johan Grundling was the final witness for the defence. The jury has heard Mr. Puska told Gordy that he killed her, but in his evidence to the court he said he did not recall these conversations. Giving evidence via video link from the UK, Dr. Grundling said he had concerns about whether the engagement by Gordy with Mr. Puska on the evening of the 14th of January last year was reliable due to a multitude of factors. Dr. Grundling said Mr. Puska's recent surgery, the oxycodone medication he was given, the unfamiliar environment he was in and the language barrier cast doubt over his fitness to be interviewed. He said he would have expected medical practitioners to have been consulted before Gordy spoke to Mr. Puska and for Mr. Puska to have been checked for signs of subtle delirium or confusion. The doctor agreed with prosecuting counsel Anne-Marie Lawler that Mr. Puska had been regularly checked by medical staff during his hospital stay and there was no record of him being disorientated or confused at any point. He also agreed with Ms. Lawler that Mr. Puska would have had at most just over 8 milligrams of oxycodone in his system at the time he made
Lawyers for the prosecution said his lies were dirty and disgusting, and they said he was trying to act like a good guy. Aisling was the only one who died.
The jury in the trial of Joseph Puska, who is accused of the murder of Aisling Murphy, will hear closing speeches tomorrow.
After that, Mr. Justice Tony Hunt will summarise the evidence and the relevant law. They're likely to begin their deliberations on Wednesday.
They only talked about it for 2 hours, but everyone agreed that he was guilty of murder on November 9th, 2023.
Of murder after 13 days of evidence and more than 60 witnesses. His story of another unidentified man attacking both him and Aisling before escaping, not believed by the jury.
He sat still and put his hands over his face as the decision was read. When Judge Mr. Justice Tony Hunt told the jury, "There is no doubt that evil is in this room," he didn't hold back what he said. He agreed with the jury's decision and was glad they didn't waste any more time on what he called Joseph's nonsense. "There will be a day of reckoning for Puska," he said. He did say that this did not say anything bad about his law team, but he did say that what they had was very bad. He said what happened to Aisling was so horrible that it would make you sick, and because of what they had to go through, he let them off the jury duty for 20 years. As soon as the judges left, there was a lot of cheering. Jared Joseph was given his sentence on November 17th, 2023. Tony Hunt, the judge, told Joseph that there was only one term to give and that it was well-deserved. Joseph Puska was given a required sentence of life in prison. Ryan turned to Joseph and said, "You have no idea how much I loved you. I will never be able to marry my true love because of you. Because of you, I have to find a way to live without her." You smirked, smiled, and didn't seem sorry for what you did. That's exactly the kind of person you are. Pure evil. May you be in hell for 30 minutes before God even knows you're dead on your day of reckoning. Even the judge and everyone else who spoke did not look at Joseph. Tony Hunt, the judge, said that he would have thought about a whole life order in this case if he had the power to do so. According to him, the person who decides whether to free Joseph must first take into account the fact that we still don't know why he killed Aisling. Everyone will know that he has never felt sorry for what he did or cared about others, and he has only lied about what happened. Soon after he was given his term, he was moved to a padded cell in a different prison and watched 24 hours a day. Someone who knew him says he tried to kill himself while he was on trial, and other prisoners say they will be looking for him in jail. Joseph's family still thinks he is not guilty.
I would like to pay tribute to Ashling's family. Her mother Kathleen, her father Ray, her sister Amy, brother Cathal, and indeed her boyfriend Ryan. The courage, the dignity, the resilience and the strength that they have shown during this ordeal has been exemplary. I want to assure them on behalf of An Garda Síochána that we will continue to support them going forward and give them all the support we can where necessary.
At this moment in time, and on behalf of the Murphy family, I would like to take this opportunity to express our deep gratitude to all of our family, friends and community for their unwavering support since our Aisling was stolen from us 22 months ago on the 12th of January 2022. From day one, the outpouring of love and support was felt in abundance from the Irish people, both on a national and international level. She was not only an integral part of our family, but she was also a huge shining light in our community, a community in which, year in, year out, she gave back to as best she could. Words cannot express gratitude to all members of An Garda Síochána who conducted and pieced together a robust and thorough investigation. We wish to formally thank the prosecution legal team, Justice Hunt, and also our family liaison officers, Sergeant Lucy McLaughlin and Detective Garda Alan Burke. We'd like to also thank the Victim Support at Core team, who are always there for us, always waiting to help us at any given moment.
We would like to also thank the members of the jury for reaching this verdict. Sitting through the harrowing evidence of this trial was not an easy task, and we'll be forever grateful for their patience and resilience throughout this incredibly difficult process. It is simply imperative that this vicious monster can never harm another woman again. Thank you.
It is easy to see how much Aisling meant to many people, and how her death shocked everyone in Ireland, not just her small town. Safety, schooling, and continuing to fight violence against women and girls were some of the important topics that were talked about. A huge number of people came together and stood together. It goes without saying that every case is horrible and affects a lot of people at once. But some cases are so highly charged that they have effects across the country and even further in ways we haven't seen before. I've already talked about Sarah Everard in the UK, Anna Kriegel and Jill Meagher in Ireland and Australia, and now Aisling Murphy. Ryan, her partner, said it hurts to think about having to remember her for longer than he knew her. Amy said, "The fact that we weren't there to save her is giving us what can only be called nightmares." While Aisling did a lot for everyone, no one was there for her when she needed them the most. I could not protect her while she was living as her big sister. Now, all I can do is protect her memory. As a family, we will continue to set the table for 5. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please give the video a like, subscribe for more true crime content, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.